Why did I shift from being a Yaya and Ganga in Palo Mayombe to a Yaya and Ganga in Traditional Kongo Spirituality? That is, that shift was a major part of my spiritual journey. It is something that I usually don't share so much publicly. It's something that I usually discuss in private or amongst family, friends, my spiritual family. But it was a very significant aspect of my journey, and this video is to help people who may have some similar experience, but it's definitely very catered to me. It is what my Ori or my higher self wanted for me in this lifetime. So my disclaimer for people is to follow what your higher self wants for you. So this is not to convince anyone to do any shifting or changing in their spiritual practices. This is for people who may have a similar path, and this is me just sharing my own experiences, my journey. But that shift was not planned, so that's number one. It was not a planned change. It was literally a very spirit-led, very connected to my destiny. And I will say that with Palo, so I'll start out with that. With Palo, I am initiated into Palo Mayombe. It was my very first spiritual system that I was initiated into. And at the time, Palo was quite fitting for me. It was everything that I was at that time in the sense of spirituality. So I found my way and my groove in Palo very well. I had two sets of godparents in that tradition, and they were wonderful people. So I had no complaints as far as my practices and my experience in Palo. It was pretty good, but there were other challenges that I was experiencing in life in different areas. And as I continued on my journey, I started to get spiritual readings. Well, I had previously, before Palo, I'd gotten divination with Ifa. So from time to time, I would go and get divination done with a Babalao with the Ifa system. So after initiating into Palo, maybe a couple of years later, I ended up getting my Hand of Ifa. Now, at that time was the very first time that I started to see that maybe there is a change coming, or what would it be? Is there something that I need to be doing differently? That's the first time that I guess I would say I started questioning my role in my practices in spirituality and Congo spirituality. So once I got my Hand of Ifa in that divination, it was guided to me that initiating fully to Ifa would be very good for me. It's something that I should really be doing and considering. And even with that being said, it wasn't something that I wanted to do at the time. So I didn't really take it very deeply. I continued on, had my experiences, lived my life, and at some point I came into really connecting with Ifa. I was still practicing Palo. There are some challenges that I may explain in another video, but this video is to kind of give the flow of why the shift happened, or how did it happen. But yeah, I ended up, as I connected more to Ifa, I started seeing different areas of my life where I had these challenges, and I felt that my full initiation to Ifa would help. And I could see what the messages were relating to from my Hand of Ifa. So I made a decision that, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to initiate to Ifa. But when I made that decision, that's when I started asking around, trying to talk to different people to see was there anyone, did I know anyone, or did other people know someone who was initiated to Palo as well as fully initiated to Ifa as a Babalao or a Yanifa? And I could find no one. I did not know anyone in my network, my spiritual network. I did not know anyone who can refer me to somebody who had did that. So at that point, I'm realizing that there's not much help that I can get with understanding how this may roll out, because I did get some information back. I did get a lot of, I would say not a lot, but there were several people that told me like, oh, well, no, if you initiate to Ifa, then you won't be able to practice Palo anymore. And in some kind of way they were right, but not fully. At the time, I'm like, oh, I can't work with my Kongo spirits anymore if I initiate to Ifa, according to what was told to me. And I'm thinking like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So I was getting messages like, oh, well, you won't be able to work this way, and you can't do both. Even like I've heard like, oh, you can't do both of them. Different things like that. But with that said, the reason why that did not have a lot of weight for me to make a decision was because I did not know anyone who actually did it. So if I had met someone who actually went through the process of initiating to both, then maybe I would have taken it more deeply. But I was like, okay, so it looks like this is something that I'll be pioneering as far as in my own little spiritual world. So there may be people out there who have done both. I just have never met them, and I didn't connect with them in my spiritual network. So I felt like this was a step that I was making, and I made that step based on trust in the Ifa divination. It has always been pretty accurate. I felt like I could follow it along with my other spirits, and it was something that was giving me the green light to keep moving. So I decided to initiate to Ifa. Now, before I initiated to Ifa, maybe about almost a year before, maybe like 8 months or so, I met some Congo elders from the Congo in Congo Square in New Orleans. And that was a big deal for me. So that was like my other marker of significance. And we bonded greatly, still connected to this day. Wonderful, like it was like me just meeting family. I had always, of course, known that I connected well with my own Congo spirits. I'd always known that I had Congo ancestors. So this was in alignment with everything. They told me a lot about Congo. They were giving me a lot of guidance and knowledge and wisdom about the way Congo was practiced traditionally and how it's practiced by Congo people in Africa. So this was like eye-opening for me, and it was a very good experience. So we talked a lot about me visiting the Congo, but we did not set a date. So after I initiated to Ifa, it was about 3 months later, I had my father do a DNA test through African ancestry, and it was confirmed that our ancestors on that side came traced back to 4 different tribes from the Kingdom of Congo, from Congo. And it wasn't a surprise for me because, as I said, I always knew that I had Congo spirits. However, it was confirmation, but it felt really good. It just felt good to get that confirmation. So that was about 3 months afterwards. And 6 months after my Ifa initiation, I went to the Congo. So I like to say that Ifa actually did not pull me away from Palo. It was a bearing on, it was significant to my shift and my transition to practicing traditional Kongo spirituality, because Ifa, that initiation and that connection with that system actually took me full circle back to Congo. It did not take me away from anything. It just brought me full circle, and it enlightened me. It enlightened me in a lot of ways. So when I went to the Congo, 6 months after my Ifa initiation, I met Ngangas there. I met with elders, attended cultural events, went to museums, learned about the Nkisi, learned about Ngangas, learned so much. And I also was able to compare a lot and see the parallels between traditional Kongo spirituality and Ifa Orisha. So I was able to gain a lot in one trip. And from that point, I still had not fully, I still to this day don't say that I'm still an initiate and priestess of Palo, but I practiced traditional Kongo spirituality because that is what is in alignment for me at this time. Again, my eyes were open to a lot of different spiritual concepts, because I want to say that in the beginning, even with my initiation to Palo, when I first got initiated, I had a good journey and experience with that, but I always felt like I wanted something deeper. I wanted to know more and learn more of Kongo spirituality on a deeper level. And when I say on a deeper level, I mean that oftentimes Palo Mayombe has this reputation, or people think of it as only being connected to witchcraft. And I always felt like there was more to it. And my godparents were very balanced people, so they did show me more than just witchcraft. That was a good experience, but even with that, there was something I felt like it was missing. I just didn't know what it was to even look for it. But when I went to the Congo, I saw it. I saw, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been wanting to know. This is what I've been wanting to learn about traditional Kongo spirituality. The whole the whole picture. I felt like I was only seeing part of a picture. So that experience is what really the reason why I shifted, because it gave me confirmation of what I, in my spirit, had been missing and wanting to experience. And that is why I practice traditional Kongo spirituality at this time right now, because that is what resonates with me. I feel like I get more of a completeness with understanding it from a traditional aspect of how it's practiced on the continent of Africa in Congo. So I hope that helps some people. If you have any questions and you feel like you're wanting to know if this is something for you, or you're feeling like you want to shift, or you just want to know more about traditional Kongo spirituality, I feel like it is not represented as a wholeness oftentimes. A lot of times people only get one part of what they believe it to be, and that's not even always what it is. Witchcraft can be a part of any religion and a part of any spiritual system. So if you just look at that's all of them across the board can have that aspect. But there was much more to this particular spiritual system of Congo, traditional Kongo spirituality, that I feel I can represent for people more and guide people as much as I can based on my own experiences. Maybe it will help some other people in understanding this spiritual system from a traditional aspect.